we're learning this morning, actually just moments ago, that Pfizer has applied for full FDA authorization. Now, right now, this is for their COVID vaccine, of course. Right now, the company is working under an emergency authorization like all the other vaccines. But in several weeks, depending on how that application goes, it could get a full approval from the FDA. So we'll talk more about that later. Also, some really good news about the battle against COVID-19 in this country. Coronavirus cases and deaths continue to decline, with daily case numbers at their lowest point in months. However, demand for the vaccine is also down. Meanwhile, children as young as 12 years old may be able to get the Pfizer vaccine soon. Laura Podesta is in New York with more on this. Laura, good morning.
Good morning, Emery. Well, as we've really been reporting all week, the Pfizer vaccine is expected to be approved for emergency use for children ages 12 to 15 early next week. And this is going to be a game changer for schools reopening and summer activities.
COVID-19 appears to be in retreat in most of the U.S. The average number of new cases has fallen to fewer than 47,000 a day. That's less than a fifth of what it was in early January.
People come and say, thank God you are open. I said, no, thank God you are here.
The decline is happening even as mask mandates and social distancing rules are relaxed.
Even though we're opening up and more mingling, our cases are still staying low. That's what vaccination immunity to a pathogen does.
The CDC says 45% of the country has received at least one dose of a COVID vaccine. But in some areas, demand has gotten so low that more than 24 states are no longer ordering every dose available.
Part of this is expected, but also it is quite unfortunate because there's still plenty of people that need to get vaccinated.
Public health officials are trying to convince more people to get immunized. In Washington, shots are being offered with a complimentary drink.
A free beer is better than the beer you pay for. So
the rest of the world has not been as fortunate, with new cases surging in Latin America, Africa, and Asia. India, which accounts for nearly half of the world's new COVID cases, reported more than 412,000 yesterday, the highest one-day total for any country since the pandemic began.
Worldwide, more cases have been reported in the last 2 weeks than the entire first 6 months of the pandemic. That's according to the World Health Organization. In addition to India, Turkey, Egypt, and Brazil are all seeing surges right now, Anne-Marie.
So, Laura, you mentioned that some states are relaxing restrictions. We're a long way from herd immunity if we ever get there. We're also learning that the demand for vaccinations is kind of slowing down. Are experts worried that this could impede America's progress?
They certainly are, because if unvaccinated people choose not to wear masks, choose not to socially distance, then they could definitely infect other unvaccinated people, making it harder for us to reach herd immunity and potentially creating another surge, Anne-Marie.
So let's talk about the news that we spoke about right at the very, very top of the show. Pfizer is seeking full FDA approval. They've already started the process. We know that Moderna has said that they will seek that at some point as well. But I think a lot of people are wondering, what are you talking about? These vaccines are everywhere. Haven't they been approved? It's under an emergency authorization. So what's the difference?
Nitty-gritty when it comes. We're getting into the nitty-gritty when it comes to emergency authorization versus full authorization. But basically, what this would mean is when the emergency is over, this vaccine could still be used if it gets this new license. So, as you mentioned, it still went through rigorous clinical studies. But what happens during an emergency is the clinical studies are happening at the same time that the vaccine is being manufactured so that it can be distributed as quickly as possible. What normally happens is there are clinical studies, there's review of those clinical studies, and then there's manufacture and distribution of the vaccine. So again, both have gone through rigorous clinical studies. It's just that because they've been making the vaccine at the same time, they're able to put it out as quickly as possible. Anne-Marie.
All right. Thank you for that explanation, Laura.